It's like we're divided. I think everyone's torn right now. So my question to you is, in this space, how do we separate politics from humanity and come together as a community? And you did it beautifully in the vigil. But what's the next step?
Just gonna, if you don't mind, I'm just gonna jump in very quickly and say, look, I think every single thing we do in life is political. The whole idea of politics, whether from government or oneself, is about what is the view that we have of the world, and how do we, from that, distill the values and the standards that we have in terms of moving forward. So for me, the vigil is political, a very poignant form of politism, right, of how we want to move forward. We're trying to say that there are different ways to address issues, of which this is for us. And I think Ali has said it so well earlier tonight. But the idea is that by coming together, everyone was welcome, and there were people of all different faiths there. And one of the things, I don't know if you remember, Rabia, the Anglican minister, when she spoke about being in Palestine and Israel, which part that she was in, and talked about working with Muslims, Christians, and Jews in the same area, who all interacted together harmoniously, prayed together, worked together for the benefit of their region, Gazan area and Palestine and all that. And that was a beautiful thing. I think it was a lovely thing for her to say, because she's just returned from that region and has these wonderful memories of these people who are living and working together. And I think at the end of the day, that in itself is a highly political statement to say that people can, when they wish to and when they want to, based on these, what some people might feel are very different values. Oh my God, Muslim, Jewish, Christian, are these people? No, the true understanding, and there's beauty in every single religion, the true understanding is really to move towards that idea of peace and living harmoniously. And I'm going to repeat that word tonight because I think it's so important. The idea that this is what people at the end of the day really want. That idea to live peacefully with each other, so they can have joy and laughter with each other. Maybe share some good meals.
Food is definitely a great place at the dinner table. Yeah.
If I may add, so I think, Rabia, to your question, how do we take up politics? I mean, I almost have two contradictory answers to it. But the first one, I think the simple and maybe a naive answer is we put, the humanity of people first before politics, right? But I think that's an oversimplification. But it gets to the point of the thing. And I do agree with what's been shared in terms of politics kind of dirties the game oftentimes. But I think the politics Shanta is referring to is basically, I understand. I think we all understand without we needing to. But it's basically that nonsensical, self-interested, one-sided, bias, all which right. So for me, because for me, politics personally is a very sacred thing, right? Because it has to do with governing people, right? And I think and it's supposed to be, and it is actually a privilege to serve as a political leader. And I would say that while I think politicians are certainly the problem, sadly, I think the rot is deeper than that, But certainly politicians tend to be the folks who are on stage and get to kind of make those calls and decisions. But I think what's really important to also ask is maybe it's less about extracting politics from the conversation and maybe using politics in the right way, right? So asking ourselves, okay, to what end am I using this politics? Because politics isn't going anywhere, right? And I think, Peter, you mentioned that everything we do, frankly speaking, or most of what we do is political. So politics is really the tool that we have at our disposal, right? And that we said, and so really it's up to us, like, how do we use that tool, right? And if we're misusing it and misapplying it, then we need to kind of take a step back. But in the meantime, I think we can certainly make sure and maybe remind people that please don't let your politics color your humanity, right? You don't get into this political tribalism where you need to ask who is the victim before you tell me whether you feel grief or joy, right? So I think that's a really state of affairs when those kind of conversations happen.
Or for someone to tell you which side you're supposed to be on publicly.
Yes.
When you should have a brain and be able to understand right and wrong yourself. Obviously, the listening audience or the viewing audience will understand we have two slightly different interpretations of politics, but really it's the same, if you know what I mean. And it's what I'm asking is to transcend bias, transcend a particular side to this, a winner or a loser, or you're wrong and I'm right, but really to look at the greater humanity. And at the end of the day, some of the things that I thought was fascinating, in, let's say 10 or 20 years ago, the whole idea of race purity used to be part of the common lexicon out there. And I used to just laugh, because anybody who's taken a cursory glance of any book, any of the world, the whole world, there were no borders, there were no border guards, there were no passports 1,000 or 2 or 3 or 4,000 years ago. People just wandered into region to region to region. And at the end of the day, even in that area of modern day, the state of Israel, which itself is a body politic created by laws and people who had control and power at the time, there's really, for people to talk about purity, no, you're looking at any region in the world where people lived and worked. That area, for example, was once, a Greek kingdom. It was a Roman empire. It was an Egyptian empire. It was an Ottoman empire. There were many empires. Empires come and go, but the people were still there. And those people have mixed. They've mixed foods, and they've mixed languages, and they've mixed with each other. It's only natural. So people today can look around and say, Turkish or Lebanese or whatever, let's go for Thai tonight. But things have been in confluence and influenced by generations and generations of cultures coming and going. And we've all been, to a large extent, enriched by it. And people need to understand at the end of the day that there's essentially human. That's all there is. That's the race. And I hope you guys like when I did that for dramatic sake. I didn't plan it, and it happened.
If I